Did you ever wonder why one episode of the Powerpuff Girls disappeared? Forever. For years, fans whispered about it. That one strange psychedelic episode where the girls stumbled into a psychedelic rock concert hosted by a little gnome named Gnomey. It aired once in Canada, and then nothing. No reruns, no home video, no streaming. Why? What was in that episode that made Cartoon Network pull the plug and never bring it back? Today, we're finally uncovering the surprising and deeply unsettling truth behind See Me, Feel Me, Gnomey, a Powerpuff Girls episode that was too weird, too symbolic, and too real for television. We'll explain how hidden cult imagery, religious undertones, and strobe-light fears made it one of the most controversial cartoons of the 2000s. So hit the like button and subscribe, especially if you remember Gnomey, and stick around as we dive into the bizarre lost history of the Powerpuff Girls and the episode that vanished. At first glance, See Me, Feel Me, Gnomey looks like any other Powerpuff Girls episode. Cute animation, musical numbers, bright colours, but within minutes, something just feels off. Instead of the usual chaotic villains and candy-coloured action, the episode unfolds like a surreal rock opera. Yes, you heard that right. A full musical. The girls don't speak, they sing. Constantly. And the songs? They're about revolution, inequality, blind obedience, and even the failure of authority. The plot follows a mysterious gnome who promises to end crime and suffering in Townsville, but only if the citizens hand over all their power to him. No more free will, no more questions, just peace at a cost. The episode is filled with hypnotic visuals. There are floating eyes, war-torn ruins, and strange religious iconography baked into the background. The gnome even crucifies himself at one point, glowing with divine light. To a kid watching in the early 2000s, it might have been confusing, but to adults, it was unmistakable. The show had gone way off the rails, and people started asking, was this really made for children? Now we dig into the backlash and the decision that got this episode banned in the US. When See Me, Feel Me, Gnomey aired in 2003 in several international markets, reactions were immediate. Viewers were baffled, and some were outright disturbed. In Japan and parts of Europe, the episode quietly slipped by. But in the US, it never aired. Cartoon Network pulled the plug before it ever hit American screens. Why? Critics and insiders point to a few major red flags. First, why? The religious imagery. Multiple scenes show the gnome glowing with a godlike aura, surrounded by halos, stained glass motifs, and yes, a literal crucifixion pose. For a kid's cartoon, this wasn't just risky, it was taboo. Second, the themes of authoritarianism and revolution. The episode isn't subtle. Townsville's citizens cheerfully hand over their rights in exchange for safety. And the girls? They nearly agree until they realise freedom is worth fighting for, even if it's messy. And then there was the violence and tone. For a show known for playful slapstick action, this episode was unusually dark. The visual style was harsher, the colours more muted, and the emotional weight heavier. Behind the scenes, it's been said that Cartoon Network execs feared the episode would be too provocative for young viewers and too politically charged for parents. So they made a choice, ban it from US broadcast. And just like that, See Me, Feel Me, Gnomey became the lost episode of the Powerpuff Girls. But here's where things get even weirder, because fans didn't forget. They hunted it down. And what they found turned this banned episode into a cult legend. So how did the episode resurface years later, and why it's now one of the most dissected cartoons ever made? For years, See Me, Feel Me, Gnomey became an urban legend among Powerpuff Girls fans. People asked, did it really exist? Was it pulled for religious reasons? Why was Cartoon Network so silent about it? And then, something wild happened. Around 2009, grainy clips of the episode started popping up on fan forums and YouTube. The audio was warped, the visuals were low quality, but it was real, and it was different. The Powerpuff Girls were singing in operatic harmony. The villain was a communist gnome dressed like a dictator, and the city of Townsville was more dystopian than ever before. It wasn't just banned, it had been erased. But once fans had the footage, the internet did what it always does. It dissected every single frame. Reddit threads broke down the gnome's design, comparing it to Soviet propaganda posters. YouTubers analysed the musical numbers like Broadway critics. Twitter exploded with hot takes, with some calling it the most artistically ambitious episode in Cartoon Network history. And here's the kicker. When HBO Max launched and started uploading classic Cartoon Network content, this episode was still missing. Even in the age of streaming, Me Feel Me Gnomey remained too hot for TV. But now, with digital bootlegs circulating and fan discussions keeping it alive, the episode has taken on a new status. It's not just a cartoon anymore, it's a cultural artifact. Next, let's dive into why the creators made this episode in the first place, and the personal story behind its message. You might be wondering, why would the Powerpuff Girls, a show known for its bright colours, quirky villains, and high-octane fun, suddenly drop an operatic episode tackling religion, authoritarianism, and social inequality? The answer lies with series creator Craig McCracken and his team, a group of artists who, by season 5, had grown bolder and more experimental. Me Feel Me Gnomey wasn't just a random side project, it was a passion piece. The episode was meant to explore big themes through the lens of animation, things like faith, the illusion of peace, and the cost of utopia. The villain, the gnome, wasn't just evil, he was a metaphor for oppressive ideologies disguised as salvation. The musical format wasn't just for flair, it was inspired by rock operas like Jesus Christ Superstar and Tommy. The team wanted to blend emotional storytelling with theatrical grandeur. A risky move for a kids' show, but a powerful one if pulled off. According to leaked storyboards and insider interviews, McCracken pushed hard to make the episode happen. It was a bold, creative swing at a time when Cartoon Network was becoming increasingly commercial. And here's the twist, the team knew the network might not like it. They knew it could get flagged. But they made it anyway. Because sometimes creators don't play it safe. They bet everything on one episode that says what they really feel. But how did the controversy impacted the show? And how it changed Cartoon Network forever? When Cartoon Network saw the final cut of this episode, they panicked. It wasn't just the psychedelic visuals or the heavy musical tone, it was the themes that raised red flags. The episode featured veiled religious symbolism, including imagery resembling crosses and a storyline that seemed to question blind faith and authority. Internally, executives worried it was too mature and too controversial for their core audience. According to insiders, the boardroom discussions weren't just about content, they were about image. Cartoon Network was still trying to maintain its position as the cool but safe alternative to Nickelodeon. Airing an episode that could spark religious backlash? That wasn't a risk they were willing to take, so they pulled it, at least in the United States. The episode aired in parts of Europe and Asia, but it was quietly scrubbed from American syndication. No promos, no re-airings, not even a DVD release. The creators were reportedly heartbroken. After months of work, so writing, animating, composing original songs, their most ambitious episode was shelved without a proper goodbye. But here's where it gets even weirder. Despite the network burying it, fans found it. They hunted down international recordings, uploaded them, subtitled them, and before long, Me Feel Me Gnomey became underground Powerpuff Girls legend. A lost episode, a silenced message, and a network that wasn't ready for a cartoon to go that deep. What the episode means today, and why do fans say it might be the most powerful story the Powerpuff Girls ever told? For years, Me Feel Me Gnomey was the Powerpuff Girls episode that didn't exist. Not officially, not in the US, and not on any of the DVDs or streaming platforms, but the internet never forgets. As early as the mid-2000s, dedicated fans began to dig. Someone uploaded a grainy version of the episode from a Japanese TV recording, English audio, but with subtitles. From there, the legend grew. Blogs wrote about it, forums dissected it line by line. YouTube breakdowns called it the darkest Powerpuff Girls story ever told. It wasn't long before the episode was unofficially back in circulation, not because the network allowed it, but because the fandom refused to let it die. What struck fans wasn't just the animation or the music, it was the message. The themes of power, inequality, and control hit different in a post-9/11 world. Some even argued it was ahead of its time, a warning wrapped in sugar, spice, and a children's musical. To this day, fans debate the episode's meaning. Was it anti-capitalist, anti-authoritarian, a quiet rebellion against corporate media? One thing's for sure, the Powerpuff Girls were never just a kids' show, and this banned episode, it's proof that even in the most colourful cartoons, truth finds a way. The episode wasn't just pulled from American TV because it was too weird or too musical. It was pulled because it said something. It challenged authority. It asked hard questions about power, freedom, and who really benefits when the bad guys are gone. But someone new takes control. And it did all of this through singing, gnomes, and glitter explosions in a cartoon aimed at children. But maybe that's exactly why it mattered. In an industry obsessed with marketability and keeping things safe, this episode was a spark, a glitch in the system, and even though it was buried, banned, and silenced, the fans kept it alive. Because great art doesn't always shout, sometimes it sings. So the next time you're rewatching your favourite childhood shows, ask yourself, what did they really want to say? Because sometimes the most colourful cartoons hide the darkest truths. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts on the episode, and subscribe for more stories from the stranger side of pop culture.